Abusive relationships can take their toll not only on the targeted victims but on their friends and families, with children often caught in the middle. With decades of experience in dealing with both the victims and perpetrators of abuse, Scott Vinchi, the executive director of the US-based Life Strategies Network, is sharing his experience and knowledge with a range of organizations and agencies in St Lucia.
I expressed to him that I wanted to offer some presentations to different organizations dealing with different types of social services for victims of abuse and dealing with domestic violence and relationship abuse and the like police agencies and social service agencies. So he's arranged to allow me to give some presentations while I'm here and do some teaching and share some of my experiences in the field of relationship abuse to minimize violence and abuse towards domestic partners.
Schwab Melcher and his associates at CM Promotions and Southern Equestrian Association facilitated the visit, which aims at better equipping St Lucians to avoid abusive relationships in the first place and to learn to address it when and where they exist. Melcher says this is all part of his association's efforts to address violence in St Lucia.
Because of what's happening in our community, we know of the violence. We don't want to speak about it, but it's happening, and we know there's abuse and all of that. And we know that mental health, poor mental health, is taking a toll on our community. My desire was to get some experts who have the knowledge who could come and share with us. Because sometimes when you're in the frame, you don't see the picture. So we're in the situation, sometimes we don't see it. So we need sometimes outside help, outside intervention, outside suggestions to help us see where we're at. And a gentleman like that who I think is duly qualified, because being a police officer for over 22 years in the US, in Europe, and he brings a wealth of knowledge that he's learned in those different countries, and through his studies, I think we could benefit from it. And the fact that, he's been so generous with his time and his efforts, and we're on the right thing, because those things are expensive to, bring somebody over and house them and all of that.
Scott Vinchi, who's written 2 books on abusive relationships and the rehabilitation of both victims and abusers, says it's important to spot the signs of abuse.
You have to pay attention to the patterns that the person displays and the ways that they minimize you, deny your priority in the relationship, or focus on blaming as a way of not being accountable for their own behavior. So over a period of time, if you know what to look for, and what I've written about in my book, If I Had Known, it's the early warning signs that identify the patterns of behavior that people will demonstrate, that lets you know that you're not a priority to them, or that they are so self-absorbed that their focus is on themselves and not about taking care of you and taking care of the things you need to get from them in relationship.
Abusive relationships are not confined to the home. They can exist in the workplace, church, social groups, or any situation in which people come together. Scott Vinchi is lending his vast experience to groups in St Lucia in order to have them better able to avoid, spot and address abusive relationships, and to help those who are victims of this abuse. St Lucian for the HS News Force.